Good morning. Welcome to our first edition of Vocabulary virtually. Anyway, I hope you're doing well. I'm going to go through this and just kind of read through this and chit chat a little bit about each of the slides, and hopefully you'll learn something. If not, you can just make fun of me, and I can't do anything about it because it's virtual. Anyway, the presentation is about reproduction and growth and what things animals and plants can do behavior-wise and structure-wise to increase the chances of their reproduction and growth. Excuse me. Animals, they adapt their behavior, and those behaviors can increase the probability of successful reproduction. Some examples of behaviors that animals show that increase chances of reproduction is making shelters. So this is where they build a structure that protects the organism. So an example would be a nest, as we have here, or a burrow. Another example of behavior is the vocalization and color displays that birds do and show. Like if you've seen those birds of paradise, they do those elaborate dances to attract a mate. Right now I'm listening, my window's open, I can hear the many birds singing to each other. This is the time of the year where birds are doing their mating courtships, I guess you could say, and they sing to each other, they dance in front of each other, they chase each other, and that's the time of the year. That's another example of behaviors that animals show. Another one would be animals that herd, not hurt, but herd. They form large groups to protect the young and confuse predators, kind of a strength in numbers. In the waters, I would say that's flocking, right? Or, I'm sorry, schooling, fish school, and birds flock, right? So here are three examples of land animals. We could have put pictures of big flocks of birds there, or big schools of fish, those big swirling balls of fish. Plants don't actually have really behaviors that they do to increase reproduction, but they do have structures like physical things on their body, if you will, that help them increase the chances of them reproducing. So some of these would be methods of transferring pollen. So they have bright colors, sweet nectars. So those are structures that move pollen. Examples, we have flowers, nectar, colors, and odors to attract pollinators. Pollinators is the next word, I believe, and that is just any organism that spread pollen from one plant to another, like bees, butterflies, and hummingbirds, and some bats. You guys have all seen this when you see bees and butterflies going from flower to flower, that transfers pollen. Pollen is the male reproductive cell for plants, and that's how they get some genetic diversity whenever they transfer that pollen to other plants. Another structure that plants have developed would be things to get their seeds from the parent plant and disperse those seeds. So, excuse me, fruits are one example. Dandelions, fruits are sweet. They attract animals. Animals eat the fruit, and they pass that fruit through the system, digest it, and then the seed actually ends up in a nice little pile of fertilizer somewhere else away from the parent. And so the seeds are transferred by attracting basically an animal to eat the fruit. And that seed gets passed in a different location. These dandelions, you can see they have little structures on the tips of their seeds that blow those seeds far away from the parent plant. These maple seeds have like the airfoil on them that basically helps them fly and float farther away from the parent. Some other seeds, like oat seed, like nuts, animals bury those to save them for later, and then basically the animals, a lot of them get eaten, but the ones that don't get eaten basically get planted by squirrels buried underground, so that away from the parent plant. The local environment can greatly affect how organisms grow. Some of the factors in the local environment would be availability of food, light, space, and water. And when we look at an ecosystem, we look at the two different things that make up ecosystems. We have biotic factors. Those are just the living things, living components of an ecosystem. And then the abiotic factors. So the biotic factors, all the plants, animals, fungi, bacteria, protists, all those different things that are alive are called biotic factors. Put an A in front of it, like asymmetry, asexual reproduction. Abiotic just means it's not living. So this is the non-living components of an ecosystem. That's the water, the soil, air, minerals, light, all abiotic factors of an ecosystem. So we have the biotic, abiotic, and there's also organisms. Their growth and reproduction are determined by many genetic factors. So genetic factors are just properties or features of an organism, of organisms that get passed from offspring, from parent to offspring. And that method is the molecule DNA. We're not going to go into detail about DNA structure, but we will just mention that there are certain factors like physical size, growth rate. These are all partly determined by genetic factors. If your parents are short, you're probably going to be short. If your parents are tall, Cohen, you're probably going to be tall also. So these are factors that are affected by things passed down. Now, your height, size, growth rate, that can be affected by some of these other abiotic factors, like how much nutrients are you getting? Are you getting enough nutrients? Are you getting enough water? Do you have all the things that are required to grow, right? Space, availability of food. Like if all of those are met, then these genetic factors can be maximized. But an example in the plant world, a plant that grows really, really fast will outcompete a plant that doesn't grow as fast for light. If it gets higher up, that plant is going to have more access to the sunlight than a plant that is unable to grow that fast. Anyways, that wraps up the presentation. I hope hopefully it was enlightening and you learned something. If you have any questions, as always, just get on Remind. I've got that Remind link out there in your email. That's the best way to get a hold of me. Looking forward to hearing from you guys. I hope you have a great first week of virtual learning. Scott, out. Oh, wait. Stay in school, but not physically. Stay off drugs. And as always, wear deodorant.